Hey everybody, welcome back for another memory keeping video. So this is going to be turning the page to January 5th through the 11th for the second half of our Puerto Rico vacation. And of course, what other kit could you possibly use other than Cafe with Anna for going to Puerto Rico? So I have the ultimate kit version of this kit with the extra pattern boxes and the extra freebie double box, as well as all of its on glossy paper. So got a lot of things to work with here. I am going to do 4 extenders this week, the same as what I did the week before, and that's just both to mark a million different little vacation things, but also because I wanted to make sure there was space to see the underlays for the most part. I did bring in underlays this week. I think this is the first time I've used underlays since like Clover's birthday week last April. I went to Magical Sticker Co. and got these sea turtle underlays in blue floral or blue flowers, whatever the pattern is called. It's like the holographic kind of aqua blue that I thought would go really well with this kit. And then I did bring in some like various hollow scripts as well because I thought that would match this week pretty well. Yeah, I don't use underlays that often anymore. Part of it is the expense, part of it is kind of the ordering it on time. I cannot always make the time to like pick foil and order foil in a timely fashion, especially because it seems to take a lot longer to make than like other stickers, which I totally understand. But the other thing is that I end up marking so many things when I use a full kit like this that a lot of times you can't really see the underlay. So like on Tuesday especially, I covered up the underlay a lot, and that was with an extender because there was just a lot going on Tuesday because we were on vacation. But then like on Sunday, I only had 4 things to mark, but we didn't like do anything that day. So you can see the underlays pretty well, but yeah, didn't do a whole lot that particular day. I also at first really hated how I did the sidebar and the deco at the top with this kit. I did it slightly differently than the week before, where I also used a Cafe with Anna kit, because I do want to use the rest of this kit later in the year for summertime. So I saved some of the glitter headers so I can do that, which meant I didn't use glitter headers in the sidebar. So at first it looked a little weird to me, but then like I got over it. So yeah, that sidebar sticker is just to mark the dinners that we had this week. I love that little signpost box. I only went to like half of the places on that signpost, but would recommend. And I feel like I'll come back to Puerto Rico at some point and like explore the western and southern parts of it. We mostly focus on like the northeast part of the island on this trip. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and assemble all of my extender boxes, and then we'll get into the regular full boxes as well as the underlays. But yeah, I wanted to use like all of the deco in the kit, but then I remembered that I used one piece of the deco the week before to mark when we had mofongo, and then I used another piece of the deco from the kit as like a character sticker for when I had an acai bowl this week. So that left me with a couple of like slightly bald patches along the bottom washi when I was doing deco, which bugged me for a little bit, but then I brought in some like little hollow deco bits of foil that I had, and that kind of sorted it out. So I don't know. Part of me is like, should I have just used the date covers the same way I did the week before and then only done deco along the bottom? But I like wanted to do deco along the top because I like that look. Oh, also here, I almost like totally destroyed this because I put my full box on upside down. And I have done that before with extenders and left it because like it didn't matter. But this one, it would very much be clear if it was upside down. And then I stuck it to the planner like that. And I was like, you better not stick there. So it all worked out in the end. But I'm like, this food box cannot be upside down. That'll look really stupid. So luckily I saw that before it was too stuck down. But yeah, at first I wasn't happy with how I put the deco down, and that was not a fault of the kit at all, or of Anna's creation of it. She does a really great job, I think, of designing kits and designing full boxes. I really like how she lays things out in the boxes and also like what she includes in her kits. But yeah, I wasn't sure how I felt about the deco along the top at first, but I think once everything else was put down, it looked better. I don't know. I like deco across the top, but sometimes I struggle with it, but we're gonna move on because I don't want this whole video to just be me hemming and hawing about deco placement at the top of my planner. Let's just jump into what happened this week. So if you watched the week before this video, we flew into San Juan, stayed there for a few days around New Year's, and then we made our way over to Fajardo and spent a few days there, saw the rainforest, all of that beauty. And then on Monday of this week, so now we're in this spread, we took a ferry out to Vieques, which is a smaller island off the southeast coast of Puerto Rico, if you're not familiar. This was a bit of a trek, especially because there was a holiday this week. So in Puerto Rico, they observe Epiphany or Dia de Reyes, or the 12th day of Christmas, whatever you want to call it. They observe that as like a family holiday. So a lot of things were closed, and generally my impression of Vieques were things are a lot slower there than they are in the city as well. So getting transportation, we should have arranged that beforehand, all of these types of things. What happened is that they only put ferry tickets on sale online about a month before the dates that are available, and sometimes they don't even do it like a whole month before. Sometimes it's a few weeks before. So by the time my husband checked for ferry tickets, the two like quote unquote best times, like 1 p.m. and 3 p.m. were sold out online. We learned later that doesn't mean they're entirely sold out. It just means that they only sell so many tickets online. So you have to go in person the day of, which is a little stressful if you have lodging booked or if you have any sort of reservation on the island, but I completely understand why they do it that way, especially because there's people who live there and need to go in back and forth, so they can't sell out like every single ticket a month in advance. That would not be fair to people who actually live there. So completely get that. So what we did in advance is we snagged tickets for like a 6:30 p.m. ferry, which wouldn't have been ideal just because we were in an unfamiliar area. Obviously the sun goes down around like 6 this time of year, so wasn't ideal. So what we did on Monday of this week was we checked out of our Airbnb in Fajardo. We went out to the Ceiba ferry terminal, hung out there, stood in line for a while. We're able to move our tickets up, not to the 1 p.m. ferry because that one was sold out by the time we got to the front of the line, like sold out, but we were able to get tickets on the 3 p.m. ferry. So at least we got over there a bit earlier. And I also learned we got over there super quickly, like it took half an hour. I realized though that that was because we took a ferry that only was conveying passengers, so we could go a lot faster. On the way back on Wednesday, we were on a ferry that was carrying not only people, but also a lot of people's cars. And you can only take a car on the ferry if you are a resident. So that one went a lot slower. It took a lot longer to get back than it did to get over there, but that was fine. So yeah, we were at the ferry probably around 11:30, I think. And then we had to wait a few hours, obviously, for the 3 p.m. ferry. It wasn't so bad. It did rain while we were there, so that was fine because they had an overhang with benches and everything that you could hang out at. The birds in that area, it was so funny. As soon as it started raining, they like all assembled and were like so happy that it was raining because it was pretty dry the whole time we were there. So, which if I remember correctly, this is kind of the dry season in Northern Hemisphere winter. Anyway, so it was just funny to see them like kind of like preening themselves and almost like dancing in the rain. They were very happy. I read a lot of my books, so I was reading this book that my sister gave to me for Christmas, which is called The Women Behind the Door. So I started that, had lots of time to read, and then we were able to get our ferry from Ceiba to Vieques. We got there probably around like 3:30, but then we had a really hard time getting a taxi because we hadn't scheduled one in advance. So we should have done that. Or what we should have done is started our car rental that day. But because we weren't sure when we were going to be on the island because we didn't have ferry tickets until later in the day, everything else just got thrown off. So Monday was kind of just like a travel day. It was a little more stressful than I would have liked. We should have planned more in advance, but we got through it. We did talk to this woman and her daughter on the ferry who sat next to us, which they were with the dad and the two brothers as well, but they had to split up because of where seats were available. And I think they were from like New Jersey, so we were telling them about our expedition to get across the country to Puerto Rico from California, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we just got like a direct flight. It was just a couple hours." I'm like, "Lucky you." So yeah, it was nice chatting with them. But like I said, once we got off the ferry, things were a little more frustrating. We did do a little bit of grocery shopping, but that ended up being a fail because by the time we did get a taxi, we were so like flustered and like out of it that we actually forgot those groceries in the taxi. So luckily we only spent like $15 because we didn't buy anything too perishable on that trip because we weren't sure how we were getting to the house we were staying at. So yeah, it was just kind of a little bit of a fail. But eventually, around like 4:35, like somebody in a taxi pulled up to the ferry terminal after we had done our grocery shopping and was like, "Do you guys need a ride?" And we're like, "Yeah." So yeah, Hilda's taxi service saved us. She just happened to be pulling up. There wasn't like a ferry coming in right then and there, but she just happened to be in the area because like all the other taxis were full or like spoken for. Somebody else had spoken for them. So that was a little stressful, but we got to our house eventually. We were staying in a little tiny house that was on this big property, and it was definitely a tiny house. Like it was literally a bed, a little kitchenette, a little table with 2 chairs and a bathroom. Like there wasn't even a closet, but that was fine because we were only staying there a few days, and also it was just in a very gorgeous location. Looking down at the water and the property, like the outdoor part of the property was amazing. Like they had this big deck and a little pool and a patio set and a barbecue and a hammock, and it was really peaceful out there, and also just really wonderful vantage point to watch like the sunrise, the sunset, to hear the roosters crowing and the coqui croaking at night, and it was a really, really beautiful place. I wish we could have spent more time there, but honestly, I wish it could have spent more time on this vacation period. So, but we are limited by my husband's PTO. So, yeah, and by, travel budget. So, yeah, it was really nice to finally get there. I also marked hearing more cookie and seeing more bats on this part of the trip. I talked about that last week. And they stocked this place with so much hot cocoa, like so many packets of Swiss Miss that I had hot chocolate, I think like multiple times on Monday and Tuesday night because it felt cozy. And then I was watching more Game Grumps this part of the trip as well. We talked about that last week. So that was all of Monday. It was literally just like getting to Vieques, finally getting some groceries, losing those groceries, having to go get more. Yeah, we didn't have our car rental starting until the next morning because we thought we weren't going to get into Vieques until like 8 p.m. and the car rental service closed at 5 p.m. So we were like, oh, we'll just get a taxi because there is no Uber or Lyft on Vieques, just to be clear. You have to do taxi service. So yeah, it worked out eventually. It's just we spent a lot more time like figuring out logistics than we would have liked, but that was also due to our poor planning. So there's no one to blame for that other than me and my husband. So yeah. Tuesday, like I said, was Dia de Reyes, so a lot of things were closed, so we had another beach day. So that's kind of how we navigated the holidays, was like New Year's Day, and this day we just planned on cooking our own food or making our own picnics and going to the beach, which is a good time to me, if you ask me. I also marked that it was my friend Taylor's birthday, because it has been for 34 years now. She and I have known each other since preschool, so we've spent a lot of birthdays together. I got up early this morning, or I woke up early this morning, and I heard the coqui, the frogs, and the chickens kind of both making their noises at the same time, which is like the overlap in the early morning hours. I have this little like goose sticker or duck sticker sticking its head through a piece of bread from Bunny Bear Plans, and I didn't know what else to use to mark chickens, so we used it for this. That's the sticker we used for it, I should say. And then my husband and I made coffee and just sat out on the patio and enjoyed the view of the ocean. That was gorgeous. And we eventually made our way out to the beach. So we chose Playa Negra, which is a black sand beach, if you can imagine from the name. Some people apparently like to just drive around Vieques and like beach hop, but we just figured we can pick one beach, and if we like that beach, then we'll just stay there. And this one with the black sand and the view of the Caribbean Sea. It was where we were just going to stay there. Also, it's a bit of a hike from the parking to that spot. So by the time we got down there, we're like, yeah, let's hang out here. We both did end up getting sunburned, which was the first sunburn of the trip. So that's a pretty good deal, is that we were here for almost a week at this point and we didn't get sunburned until this day. It was just really sunny. There was like no shade at that beach. So keep that in mind if you do go to that beach. But it was gorgeous. We spent several hours out there enjoying the water and the view, and it was a really calm beach day. There were other people there with us, but like it wasn't crowded, so that was nice. I continued reading my book while we were at the beach, and then on our way back to our car, I didn't mark this because I didn't do this, but my husband did pick up a car rental on Tuesday morning. So we just got like a Kia like a little SUV situation. They do rent out like golf carts. I don't think they go very fast though, and I think the locals hate the golf carts though, from what I've heard, because they don't go very fast on the streets, and I don't think you can drive them at night either. So we didn't really want to do a golf cart rental. And then some people get Jeeps, but like even the narrow streets that we went on, or like the more rugged streets we went on, it didn't seem like they needed a Jeep. So like a Kia little SUV was perfectly fine. Anyway, when we made our way back up to that car, after enjoying the beach and after completing our hike, there were multiple cats who I think lived at the restaurant that was there, but the restaurant was closed because it was a holiday. But these were the only cats I saw the whole trip that had collars, so that was kind of funny. They were hamming it up with us. The cats were like, do you have anything? Can I have anything? Please, thank you. There were also a bunch of chickens with them. And on the drive back, we saw a bunch of the wild horses of Vieques, which are very proliferate. So yeah, I just marked in my planner like all of the different animals because there were a lot of different animals. There was also, my husband didn't see this, but I did. While he was getting the car rental on Tuesday morning, there was like this big dog that just like ran through the yard. He didn't see me, but he just like ran through and then like popped through the fence and went over to the neighboring property. Because the property we were staying on was, like I said, very vast, with a very tiny little house on it. And so there was that dog, and then we'll talk about this later on Tuesday as well. After we barbecued and everything and we're cleaning up, I noticed this little chihuahua was just like running through the yard, and he didn't see me at first. And I swear he must have just smelled the barbecue chicken and was just trying to like figure out where the food was. And then he saw me and he was like, oh, hi, I didn't know you were here. So yeah, lots of animals just like running around everywhere. This house did also have a pool, so by the time we got back from the beach, we didn't really feel like swimming that much, obviously, and also it was starting to get pretty windy, so and the sun was starting to go down, so we just spent a little bit of time in the pool. I discovered that I had a sunburn, so it wasn't that bad. I thought it was gonna be worse than it ended up being. I just have kind of like a little bit of tan lines on my shoulders, and my nose was really red, but luckily the sunburn was not that bad. It went away pretty soon after. And then what else happened on Tuesday? Like I said, we barbecued chicken and had some like tortillas and salad and just kind of very basic dinners any of the days that we couldn't go to restaurants or things like that. And then I marked that chihuahua running through the yard. I ended up using a Corks and Corks Co. Corky sticker, not Corky, a Corgi sticker. Corky is the other character, a wine cork. Ended up using a Corgi sticker for that because I don't have a chihuahua sticker because I have no chihuahuas in my life. Oh, here I made use of the name of the kit. So I just cut out the script of the name of the kit because that's a free script right there. And then I put in this little bikini from Planahannah. I think it's in Sparkly Hollow. So that was just what I put in the sidebar to mark the second half of our trip. And then I'm going to start getting into the day by day. Obviously, I'm not telling you like where every single sticker is from, but you can let me know if you want to know any more details of that. Continuing with the end of Tuesday, there weren't as many like games and things in this Airbnb as there were in the last couple of ones because it was so tiny. So obviously they're not going to take up a ton of storage with games, but we did try to play nautical tic-tac-toe. We discovered, hey, tic-tac-toe is a lot more impossible to win when you're an adult and you can see everyone else's moves coming 5,000 years ahead. So I don't know if that makes sense, but like tic-tac-toe seems impossible to not reach a stalemate nowadays. Let me know how you feel about that. And then I couldn't remember if we watched The Wild Robot, which is a movie, on Monday night or Tuesday night, so I just marked it on Tuesday. I thought it was a nice movie. I thought it was a gorgeous movie, like animation-wise. I feel like I've seen the plot of this movie before, and I don't remember what movie it reminds me of, but it was fine. So that was the last thing that I marked on Tuesday. Wednesday, I marked that I had to be up early to check in for our flights because, like we talked about last week, this was kind of the last of Southwest's open seating policy. So checked in for our flights, and then since I was up anyway, because I'm the one who booked our flights, by the way, so that's why I had to be the one to check in. I noticed the sun was coming up, and there's these beautiful, like kind of like cotton candy clouds on the horizon. So stayed up to watch that, and then made coffee, and we enjoyed more coffee on the patio. And then it was time to check out of the tiny house. I miss that property a lot. We took a ton of photos there, which is probably the most photos I've ever taken at like a rental property, but it was a nice view. It was a nice kind of little like mini resort type of situation. We went into Isabel Segunda, which is kind of like the main townish area near the ferry, and got brunch at a place called Rising Roost. I did not eat enough fruit on this trip for it being a tropical vacation, so I did get an acai bowl at brunch. So it was like obviously acai, I think papaya, strawberry, and granola. The papaya especially was really nice. So that was a good experience. And then I did a little bit of souvenir shopping at a place called Luna Loca. So I got a little, it said it was a handmade ornament with these little kind of cookie frogs, and they're like sitting on a leaf. So I thought that was cute as my magnet for this trip. I keep seeing reels, they keep getting shown to me because, of course, algorithms are going to algorithm, but I've seen multiple reels that are like POV going to shop for your next fridge magnet, and it's just like a view out of the plane, and I laugh because that is me. I've been on the what do you call it? Souvenir magnet thing for a while. That's something I started doing like maybe 4 or 5 years ago. I think it started with Joshua Tree National Park when we got engaged. It might have started before then. No, I think that's when it started. And now every time I go on a trip, I get a magnet. The one exception was Mexico City, I think, because I just did not have time on that trip. Anyway, I also got a couple of things for people back home, but I have not given them to them yet, so I'm not going to talk about them here. There was more rain while we were waiting for the ferry to go back, so I marked that, and then we made our way back to Ceiba from Vieques, and we were very lucky. I managed to get an Uber from Ceiba to San Juan, which is like an hour drive, especially that time of day. I have learned since then to not depend on that, so don't do that. But we got lucky and were able to call an Uber. We had to wait for a bit, but like not that long. So went back to San Juan, checked into I thought it was going to be a hotel. It turned out to just be like basically an Airbnb situation. I totally thought it was a hotel because I booked it on Expedia, but it was not, but it turned out fine. We were just staying there for the night because it was close to the airport. So did that. This was the day that a lot of things started happening in Minneapolis. I'm not going to totally get into it. Obviously, I do not stand for it. We're still dealing with the aftermath of that, as well as just the aftermath of that whole situation. So I marked that with a little protest sticker from Sweet Ava's paper because I do not approve, obviously. And then there was a lot of news that happened while we were on this vacation, and I am never going to be the type of person who just like totally ignores what's going on in the world, even if I am on vacation, unless I'm like out in the wilderness and literally don't have cell service. But I still will tune in for news when I'm away because, like, especially with what happened the week prior, that could have affected our trip. It didn't technically, but it could have, right? So it's important to like stay informed about what's going on. But yeah, there was a lot of bad news while we were on this trip, and it's continued the whole rest of this month, obviously. And on any given day, there's something bad going on in the world, you know, but sometimes it seems like there's more frequent stuff going on than not. Anyway, all of that to say, we had one last nice dinner in San Juan. We went to like the Condado Miramar part of town, which is more resorty. That's not where we were staying, but that is where we got dinner. We went to a place called Casita Miramar, and very nice like atmosphere. I made the mistake of ordering a basic, they didn't call it a pina colada, but like it basically was a pina colada, and then having steak at the same time. My stomach doesn't like that, so that was a mistake. My husband, however, ordered the whole fish. I forget if he got the catch of the day or like something else, but like the photo I have of this man with his fish, he is the happiest he's ever looked, ever, I swear, in his life. Like, that's my husband for you. He ate the whole thing. So I have this really funny sticker from Itty Bitty Sticker Co. of this cat like cheering with like a plate with a whole fish on it, and I thought it was absolutely perfect because that was basically my husband with his fish. So he really enjoyed his dinner. I upset my own stomach. That is my own fault. Wish I had either ordered something else or at least not ordered the pina colada. But yeah, remind me to stop ordering sugary drinks and then trying to eat dinner at the same time. Like that's not a good combo. Like I need to eat first and then have the sugary drink. So yeah, marked my upset stomach at the end of Wednesday, and then we basically just went back to our studio unit and crashed because we needed to be up super early the next morning. I think we had to be up at like 3 because our flight was at 6. Maybe, I think, yeah, I can't remember if we got up at 3 or 3:30, but same difference. It was the middle of the night. So did that on Thursday. Made our way to the airport where literally everybody was. It's a good thing we got there when we did, because if you don't know, when you fly from Puerto Rico to the main United States, you have to go through your bags. You don't have to go through, but your bags have to go through an agriculture scan. So needed to do that. Luckily, I feel like we got to that before like everyone else realized they needed to do that. So we got through that pretty quickly. I had coffee in my bag, and my husband had, I forget what else, but like we had some food products in there. So you want to make sure that your bag is tagged before you go through security, because if they catch it at security, I saw some woman with multiple bags of coffee who was being berated by TSA. So don't do that. Yeah, go through the USDA scan before you go through security if you have anything that is agricultural, anything edible. Moving on, made it to our plane just fine. The security line was so long, but because we got there 2 hours before our flight, we were totally fine. And part of that was because of the flight cancellations the weekend before, because, you know, this was a big travel holiday week for a lot of people. And with 2 whole days of flights canceled, that just meant there was a huge backup, I'm sure. So by the time we got on the flight and we were about to take off, the flight attendant, the bilingual one, he was making these announcements in both Spanish and English. And he was like, look, we all know what's going on. And, you know, if you want to complain about it, you can go to whitehouse.gov. And I was like, oh, snap. Yes, I love you. He was so funny but firm. And at the end of the flight, he started playing Disneyland music, like the When You Wish Upon a Star. We were landing in Baltimore, Maryland, for context. He was funny. I loved him. Anyway, so I marked the flight attendant with a suck it sticker from Sweet Avis Paper, because he was like, yo, it's not my fault. It's not anybody who works here's fault that what happened this last weekend. So yeah, he was telling it like it was, and I appreciate that. So we flew from San Juan to Baltimore, and then we had like a 7-hour layover. Got Einstein's bagels, got like a big lox sandwich, which tasted so good, and also got Mayorga coffee. Got like a cappuccino. I've decided that in 2026, lattes are out, cappuccinos are in, because I finally, at the ripe old age of 33 and a half, learned what the difference is between those two. And so I'm like, I'm going to order cappuccinos lately and see if I like it better. Yeah, I do. I don't know why I've been ordering lattes this whole time. I think it's the Starbucks influence. So yeah, cappuccinos are in now for me. Read a lot of my book this day. because we had that 7-hour layover. So that actually made the time pass pretty quickly. Like by the time we got off the plane, I read a bunch, we had lunch and coffee, and then it was time to board. Like it didn't really feel like that long of a layover. Obviously not a lot to do in Baltimore at the airport. So it's a good thing I had a book. I did not mark my dinner because it was a chicken teriyaki bowl that was not particularly good. So don't recommend that. But then we flew from Baltimore to Sacramento and were immediately immersed back into winter. Now, Baltimore, we didn't go outside, obviously, because we were just there on a layover. But she looked dead winter. But then we flew back to California and it was dead winter here too. And we got outside of the airport because at the Sacramento airport, we usually park at the economy lot, which has a shuttle bus. So you have to go outside in order to get to the shuttle bus in order to get back to your car, obviously. And it was windy this night. And I was like, it was a harsh reality back into winter time. So I used this Hello Winter script from Magical Sticker Co. because we were back to winter time. We were reunited with our cats, and I had the best shower ever after a long day of travel. It's like I had showered the night before, but also like after that long of a travel day, it felt so good to shower in my own house and get into my own bed. So I went to bed at like 9 this night because we were still definitely on Puerto Rico time, and 9 Pacific time is like 1 a.m. Atlantic time. So that's fun. Next morning, I woke up. I had a bunch of stuff to do. I had moved my appointment to later in the day from a morning appointment, so that was good. But I did mark 4 months till a concert I'm going to. My husband jumped right back into work because, like I said, he does not get a lot of PTO, so he worked from home this day. I had to call on some insurance nonsense that changed because it's a new year. Stupid. Whatever, we've got it handled for now. And then I worked on the budget, and then I went to my appointment in the afternoon, and after my appointment, I got myself a Happy Meal. This Happy Meal sticker is going to be from Bunny Bear Plans. And then this evening, we watched Marcelo Hernandez's comedy special that recently came out. I enjoy him on SNL, especially his like silly bit with like being this jock boyfriend to this nerdy girlfriend on Weekend Update. So yeah, mostly enjoyed his Netflix special. There were definitely a bunch of parts of it that were like not for me as the audience, but it was pretty funny. And then I restarted watching Great British Bake Off. Saturday was my payday. Played with the cats because they deserved it after us being gone for over a week, and then started unpacking and did laundry because, you know, classic post-vacation things. This weekend, I like was very much glad to be home. Like the older I'm getting, and I think just I have my cats now, like after a while, like I want to just go home. I love traveling, but also like I love my home. So yeah, this weekend I was very much like into being home. That's worn off since then, and now I have the post-vacation blues. But like at least this weekend I was like riding that high of being like, just went on a nice trip. Now I'm home, gonna enjoy my home, enjoy my family, all that stuff. So I was riding that high. My dad called me just to make sure that we got home. I guess I wasn't clear in text messages that we had gotten home, but yeah, he was a little worried about the whole flight cancellation situation from the week before. But I'm like, no, we got on our flight. Somehow we like dodged all of that. So that was good. I started filming my Christmas plan with me and then was watching more Great British Bake Off. Sunday, like I said earlier, I only had 4 things to mark. I marked just pajamas all day with this little Polly Pocket sticker from Itty Bitty Sticker Co. It looked like a little house. I never get to use these stickers. It matched the kit, so that's what we used. And then the PJs all day script is going to be from Magical Sticker Co. I journaled this day just to get some thoughts down, and then I finished my 2025 planner this day. So I finished my Christmas plan with me. That was hard to say for some reason. And then that meant I was done with my 2025 planner because that was the last week I filmed in there. So that was really exciting to be done with my 2025 planner on January 11th. Love that for me, actually. I don't like being too far behind. I don't mind watching other people's plan with me's from like months and months ago. I actually enjoy that. But for me, I like being only a couple of weeks behind in my planner. And luckily in 2025, I've been able to do that more. And then this evening, I decided to rewatch the Stranger Things finale because I just kind of wanted to process it a little bit more and pay attention to more details. And so I marked that with a Dungeons and Dragons sticker from Carly Plans because it matched the colors in this kit. And I enjoyed the finale just as much the second time around as I did the first time. And I cried the same as I did the first time as well. So yeah, here is what's left of the kit. I loved the girls in the fashion boxes as well, but as you can see, I used the clip art, like the deco versions of them, so I saved those boxes. I wanted to make sure I used the boxes that were the clearest Puerto Rico, like scenic boxes and like cultural boxes first. So that is what made it into this week. And then everything else that I saved is more just like generic summer boxes that I can use later. But yeah, I'm really in love with this kit. I'm putting in little deco bits of hollow, like sparkly hollow stuff that I found in order to remedy my deco situation because it was looking kind of bare at the bottom there and I just was not a fan of how that was looking. So I'm just filling that in here. Thank you so much for this kit, Anna. I really appreciate it. Obviously, it came in handy because I ended up going to Puerto Rico. And I'm very grateful for all the hospitality that the people who live and work there showed us while we were there. Very friendly people and lots of good food, lots of great beaches, obviously. And yeah, we had a really nice time. There were parts of the trip that we probably should have planned a little bit better, but that's on us. We're very busy in the second half of the calendar year, like every year, so kind of planned this one a little last minute, but I would definitely go back someday and explore some more of the island and enjoy all of the things that we enjoyed this week. So thank you so much for listening to me ramble on about my trip. I hope you're having as good of a January as you possibly can. Let me know what you've been up to. And we're just gonna get back into like normal life and normal plan with me's after this point, which is good and also a little sad at the same time. But that is everything written in. Those are my extenders. As you can see, Tuesday, there was like no space to really see the underlays, even though they are there, but I like how you can see them more on the other days. So I do like how that turned out. And a lot of these boxes are very reminiscent of the things that we saw and did on this trip, so that's fantastic. But again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and I will talk to you in my next one. Bye.